We study billionaires, and this is episode 77 of The Investors Podcast.
Broadcasting from Bel Air, Maryland, this is The Investors Podcast. They'll read the books and summarize the lessons. They'll test the waters and tell you when it's cold. They'll give you actionable investing strategies. Your host, Preston Pish and Stig Broderson.
Hey, how's everybody doing out there? This is Preston Pish, and I'm your host for The Investors Podcast. And as usual, I'm accompanied by my co-host, Stig Broderson, out in Denmark. And we've got an interesting billionaire to talk about for this episode, and it's not somebody that we've really ever talked about on the show before, and that's Oprah Winfrey. And I know some people might be, really, Oprah Winfrey's a billionaire? I'm seeing $2.9 billion is how high her net worth is. And she just has an amazing story. And to be quite honest with you, I'm a huge fan, absolutely huge fan of Oprah Winfrey. And I've been impacted by a lot of the books that she's recommended through the years. And we'll kind of get into that as we go through the episode. But she wrote a book, and so we're actually reading her book. And the name of the book is What I Know for Sure by Oprah Winfrey. Fantastic read. I'm just thoroughly impressed with her in general, so I'm not really surprised that her book was so good and beneficial. But we're going to go through that, and we're going to talk about the different things that we learned in her book, and it should be a pretty fun episode. You know, I think a lot of people in our audience are obviously value investors and people that are probably more in the accounting side of the house. And, you know, not every person that you study has to necessarily be this mathematical kind of figure out the intrinsic value of something to really necessarily add value. And so that's why we're kind of stepping away from that for one episode. And we just really want to dive into just looking at things from maybe a different perspective and kind of seeing how she kind of rose to the top and maybe some of the ideas that helped her rise to the top. And a lot of that is covered in this book, so it should be pretty good. I wanted to talk a little bit about her as a person and how she grew up and what kind of background she came from. And unless Stig has any opening comments that he wants to, throw out there, do you want me to roll right into that, Stig?
Yeah, that sounds cool.
Okay, so I just wanted to talk about how she basically came from nothing and created this multi-billion-dollar empire. And I think that it's just so fascinating. And one of the things that, I don't know if you've noticed this or not, but one of the things that Stig and I like to focus on our show is we want to focus on billionaires that created everything basically from the ground up on their own. You know, we don't really focus on the Walton children, for example. I mean, they're billionaires, but their dad, Sam Walton, was really the one that created all the value, and they just kind of fell in on it. So we like to find self-made billionaires, people that have really kind of